hand.
1 second. Let me see how I'm going to do it. 1 minute.
Okay. So yes, he's a very, very special.
By the way, I was there, Rabbi.
Where?
At the rally.
Oh yeah, you were there in Butler.
Yes.
They should have got Israeli security next time.
Yes, that'd be much better.
If they get Israeli security next time, I think the Secret Service will have a thing or two that they could learn.
Yeah.
Hashem, you have the whole entire world, all the news in all parts of the world, all talking about how they tried to assassinate, to kill President Trump, and it happened in our backyard. We even had a representative over there, not wearing his red pin today, but his red tie, but that's okay. Yassi Rosendahl. What? He lives not too far. He lives in Cranberry, so it's up in his area. And
someone from here in Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Are you able to share? So one very
it will take me a few minutes. I'll figure
okay,
it
no
out.
problem. We'll start with the Gemara in the meantime. There was someone who tried to shoot President Reagan, if you remember, John Hinckley. And Hinckley, being as we're in such a great country like the U.S., so now they put him into a mental hospital for many years, and now he's free. Now he lives in his house by himself, and now he's free because maybe he's healed. I'm not sure. But but the Rebbe spoke very strongly about it. Why would a young person? He came from a very wealthy family, this Hinckley, and he had everything going good for him. And why would he go ahead and want to go and kill someone else, especially someone that he doesn't know so well them personally, and he doesn't even know what they hold for entirely? And why would he go ahead and do it? And
Rabbi, I'll just say what I remember from that. It's insanity. He wanted to get some movie stars' attention. So by trying to assassinate Reagan, he was got this Jodie Foster. He was trying to get her attention, and that's what went through his mind.
That's very possible. The Rebbe said a big thing that comes from it is because of the education which they're receiving today. If you don't receive education, that there's an eye that looks at you always, and there's an ear that's always listening to you, and everything you do is being recorded in Shemayim in heaven. And Hashem is watching you, and you're going to have to give an accounting for everything to Hashem. And if you take that away from them, so you lose your sense of responsibility, you lose a sense of how to be normal. They were advocated very strongly for a moment of silence at that time.
Well, the governor's trying to get prayer back in school.
Right. I mean, there's a long thing. First, the Rebbe was a school prayer. They got rid of that. The Rebbe advocated for a moment of silence. I mean, there's only several states that mandate it, and most states, 30-something states, have it optional. Every teacher can choose what they want. Okay, so Yossi, as soon as you find that special line, the line that you sent me today, it'll be a nice one. You could share it with everyone, please. If you have here your arts with Gemaras, we're holding here in Mesechta Megillah, Daf Lamed Daf Chavtes Amid Beis 29b. We're going to speak about the idea of 3 Sifrei Torahs. When do you take out 3 Sifrei Torahs in Shul? We take out a Sifrei Torah 3 Sifrei Torah, up to 3 times a year. Whenever you read 3 different parshas that are in 3 different areas in the Chumash, you can take out 3 Sifrei Torah. As of now, we're discussing when do we read Parshas Shkalim? Which Parsha do we read for Parshas Shkalim? We had a discussion between Rav and Shmuel. Rav said that you read the Parsha of Rosh Chodesh and Parshas Pinchas, Skarbani, Lachmi, Lishai. And Shmuel says that you read the Parsha of Kisisa, which That's the first major charity campaign in history. Went on for several parshas. And it goes on to Teruma, to Tzava, big part of Kisisa. Yaakov Pekudei is giving a summary of everything, of all the money they raised. The biggest first charity campaign in Jewish history. And so Shmuel says, you read about how everyone has to give money towards the Beis HaMikdash. And we asked several questions back and forth. How is it possible that the Brisa, which says Parsha Shkolim, you could read the same Parsha 2 weeks in a row? If it's Parshas Kisisa, we could read it 2 weeks in a row, as it happens now sometimes. If it's Parshas Pinchas, how can it be read 2 weeks in a row? And the Gemara says there are some people who read the Torah, instead of completing it once a year, they complete it once every 3 years. And then it's possible that Parshas Pinchas could be during the time when you're reading it at the same time before other. Now we had some statements of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka. And Tanya Kavasi to Shmuel. We learned in a Brisa, in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel, Rosh Chodesh Adar, Shechal Lias B'Shabbos, Parin Kisisa Maftirin B'Yahayad HaKayin. When Rosh Chodesh Adar, the first of Adar, is on Shabbos, so we have to read Parshas Shkolim. Parshas Shkolim is Parshas Kisisa. And Haftarah is Haftarah of Yehayada HaKayin, which once again discusses everybody collecting money to give to the Beis HaMikdash. Once we mention Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, and we're mentioning Parshas Shkolim, we're going to say some more statements of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka. So offhand, could you think of it 3 times a year that you could take out 3 Sifrei Torah? Let's think of it. One time every year we take out 3 Sifrei Torah, which is on
Simchas Torah.
Excellent. Shkoyach. Thank you, Rebbe Rafal. Yes, on Simchas Torah. Because one parsha we read Zoysa Bracha, the last parsha in the Torah. One parsha we read Bereshis. And one parsha we read is Maftir, which is in Parashas Pinchas. Very good. Second one is Rosh Chodesh Chanukah, Rosh Chodesh Teves, which you read Parashas Shavua, Parsha of Chanukah, and the Parsha of Rosh Chodesh. A third time will be Parshas Rosh Chodesh Adar, which came out to be on Shabbos. So you have the Parshas Shavua, Parsha of the week. You have the Parsha of Rosh Chodesh and Parsha Shkolim. Then you have Rosh Chodesh Nisan come out to be on Shabbos. You have a Parsha of the week, Parsha of Rosh Chodesh, and the last Parsha you have is no problem. It's good. The last Parsha you have is the Parsha of Parshas HaChodesh, which speaks about the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Is that right, Vikadosh? I'm going to close that door. There's a loud fan there. Going to bring up from the last screen.
Okay, Rabbi, sorry to interrupt you for a second. Here's the picture.
You're enhancing. All right, you can share. Let's see. Let's see.
It's on my background. Can you see it? Or?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Can't see it yet. Maybe we'll do it. Here it is. Harishon Shekir. See on the screen over here. Harishon Shekir b'Yerushalayim nitzel ayidei zeh shabara et Yerushalayim. The first one to recognize Yerushalayim was saved by the one who created Yerushalayim. Just Hashem guards, Hashem protects those. Hashem says, I will bless those who bless you. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Yossi. Over here, I brought up.
Where's the pasuk from?
Which pasuk?
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, no, that's not. That's just a quote.
Yeah, Chumash.
Yeah. Right. I just brought up. It says, when three Sefer Torah being taken out is not a very common occurrence. It happens, not every year does it actually happen. You have Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Teves, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh other days. And it says when it takes it out, it's a special Eis Ratzon. So the Sefer Pirkei Chalas, which was given over by Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, the famous Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, the one who was killed Kiddush Hashem. It says, but whenever you open the Aron Kodesh, it's Eis Ratzon, and when you take out 3 Sefer Torahs, it's this extra special Eis Ratzon. Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, it says all the gates are open. And it says Hashemayim Kisi Haaretz Adim Ragloi, and it says the gates of the Beis Hamikdash should be open. Chanukah, the gates are open, and Chanukah, when the Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, and you take out 3 Sefer Torah, the gates are open. In Hatamim, it brings a Maamar from the Alter Rebbe. This Melech Biderman quotes it. It says, Zohar says, whenever the Aron Kodesh is open, it's awesome. There's a Kabbalah we have from the Tzemach Tzedek, where we heard it from about the Alter Rebbe, heard from the Maggid Mizrich, we heard from the Baal Shem Tov, that we daven for something when the Aron Kodesh is open, and it will be fulfilled either completely or at least partly. And definitely when 3 Sefer Torah are taken out, it's an Eis Ratzon. The Pnei Menachem writes that he would tell people to daven during a time when 3 Sefer Torah are taken out. But in general, whenever the Aron Kodesh is open, it's a special Eis Ratzon, especially the words of Brich Shmei. On Shabbos, we don't ask for our own needs, right? We don't ask for anything on Shabbos during Shemona Esrei, heal us or anything else, but we do ask in Brich Shmei for all of our needs. Parnasa, Barriers Gufa, to be healthy.
But not on Shabbos.
Right, but we don't ask on Shabbos, but we do ask when the Aron Kodesh is open during Brich Shmei. And part of the reason is because it is a tremendous Eis Ratzon. So says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, says Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, Rosh Chodesh Teves, it's called Liyas B'Shabbos. When on Chanukah, Rosh Chodesh Teves comes out to be on Shabbos, and only Rosh Chodesh we say Halal Shalom. Mevi'in Shalosh Torahs V'Karim B'Hen. You take out 3 Sefer Torah from the Aron Kodesh. Usually you take out 1. There's a picture. We got so many pictures. Text out of this. You take out 3 Sefer Torah from the Aron Kodesh. There's just a Siyum Sefer Torah, 3 Sefer Torah, and you read from all 3 Sefer Torahs. Echad ben Yana Shayim, and it's actually going to be a specific order. Which Sefer Torah you read, what comes first? The first Sefer Torah you read, the Parsha of the week. So let's say that week is Parshas Vayeshev or Vayishlach, right? Vayeshev or Miketz, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Teves. So then you read the Parsha of the week in the first Sefer Torah. Echad b'Rosh Chodesh, second Sefer Torah you read Maftir of Rosh Chodesh. Ve'echa b'Chanukah, and the third, Echa b'Kisisa, and the third Sefer Torah, you read Parshas Shkalim. I was reading the next paragraph. Okay, if Rosh Chodesh Adar came out to be on Shabbos, first you read the Parshas Shavua, then you read Rosh Chodesh, then you read Kisisa. V'amar Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, and Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says further, Rosh Chodesh Teves Chol Shabbos. If Rosh Chodesh Teves is on Shabbos, you bring out 3 Sefer Torah, and you read Echad and Yana Shal Yom. First one you read Parshas Miketz, or Vayeshev Echad b'Rosh Chodesh. Second one you read over Roshei Chachechem, the Haftarah of the Maftir of Rosh Chodesh in Parshas Pinchas, Roshei Chachechem, the Echad b'Chanukah, and the third Sefer Torah you read on Chanukah, which is in Parshas Nasa. And although Nasa and Pinchas are both in the same Chumash, but there's a tircha. It's going to take time to be goylel, to roll the Torah from one to the next, and you don't take out a second Sefer Torah. In general, we try avoiding as much as possible to take out a second Sefer Torah. The reason is because the person watching is going to say, hey, this Sefer Torah, which was taken out, was puzzle, is invalid. That's why they took it away and they brought a new Sefer Torah. So you generally try not to take a new Sefer Torah unless it's tircha de tzibura, unless it's going to take time from everybody being in shul and sitting around. So let's say, for example, on a fast day, where we skip one paragraph between aliyahs, we skip a whole column in the Torah, but you don't take out a new Sefer Torah, right? You don't need to. Try not to take out a new Sefer Torah unless you must. But once you take out 2, you can already take out 3, as we'll see soon. Says the Gemara, Utzricha, and we just stated 2 cases when you take out 3 Sefer Torah, both in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka. One is on Rosh Chodesh Teves, one is on Rosh Chodesh Adar. He couldn't just tell us one time you take out 3 Sefer Torah, and then from there infer the other time you take out 3 Sefer Torah. The itmar b'ha, or if you only tell me the halacha that on Shabbos Chanukah you take out 3 Sefer Torah. You could say that only on Shabbos Chanukah you take out 3 Sifrei Torah. But on Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Shkolim, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Adar, maybe you only take out 2 Sifrei Torah. And he would say the Amar the Parsha Shkolim is Karbani Lachmi, who says that for Parsha Shkolim you read the Kriya of Rosh Chodesh. And then you don't need to take out 3 Sifrei Torah because you have the Kriya of Rosh Chodesh. So you're doing Kriya of Rosh Chodesh plus the Kriya of Parsha Shkolim. You don't have to, you'll do it in separate aliyahs. You'll do it in 4 aliyahs, but you don't have to take out another Sefer Torah. So the fact that he says you take out 3 Sefer Torah shows that he holds Parshas Shkolim is in Parshas Kisisa, right? Parshas Kisisa, which is over here in middle of Chumash Shemos, and not in Parshas Pinchas, where the Parsha of Rosh Chodesh is. The itmar baha b'shtei Torah sagi kamash malan comes to teach you that he holds like Shmuel that on Parshas Shkolim we read Parshas Kisisa and not Parshas Pinchas. V'lei maha v'lei bayahach kad miklal chaverta itmar, and to say only the other one, the law of Rosh Chodesh Adar, and not to say the halacha of Rosh Chodesh Teves, because by Parshas Shkolim, not necessarily will it for sure be 3 different Parshas. Just to bring up the Parshas on the screen to get it a clear picture. Either one, right? By Parshas Shkolim, so you have the weekly Torah reading, which is, let's say, Tetzaveh, and then you'll have Pinchas, and you'll have Rosh Chodesh, which according to one opinion, Rosh Chodesh is in Pinchas, but the Parsha Shkolim could be either in Kisisa or in Pinchas. However, by Chanukah, right? By Chanukah, the weekly Torah portion is definitely either Vayeshev or Miketz. Parshas Rosh Chodesh is definitely Pinchas, and Parshas of Chanukah is definitely Parshas Nasai. So it's definitely 3 different Parshas according to all opinions. It's not in the same time of year, and there's no opinion that says it's the same Kriya as Rosh Chodesh. So in truth, the only Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka only said one halacha. He only said the halacha about Rosh Chodesh Adar, about Parshas Shkolim. But once you knew you take out 3 Sifrei Torah for Parshas Shkolim, you definitely take out 3 Sifrei Torah from during Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, and his students learned out the halacha one from the other. Tosfos adds on an interesting anecdotal point. We must say that whoever learned this halacha was living in the city where Rav was the Rav. Rav, remember what city he was in? He was in Pompadisa. Right? He was in Eretz Yisrael, and they brought him to Bavel, which Rav says on Rosh Chodesh Adar and Shabbos, you only take out 2 Sifrei Torah, because he holds that the Parsha of Rosh Chodesh is a Parsha Shkolim. And so we had to learn this new halacha to explain what Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka. If not for Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, you would not have known this halacha that you take out 3 Sifrei Torah. And the Gemara doesn't spell it out, but it's understood as well that when it's part of Rosh Chodesh Nisan, you also take out 3 Sifrei Torah. Because in Rosh Chodesh Nisan, if it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Nisan, you read the Parshas HaShavua, which is, let's say it's Hayikra or Shemini, could be in a leap year. Then you read Parshas Bai for Parshas HaChodesh, which tells you the halachas of Rosh Chodesh and the halachas of Korban Pesach. And then you read Parshas Pinchas for Maftir. There's many different halachic differences from our Gemara. Mainly in regards if somebody made a mistake. Because it's very easy when you're reading from 3 Sifrei Torah, it's very easy to make a mistake. Which one you're supposed to read first? In Parashat Shavua, you read first. What comes first? The maftir of Rosh Chodesh or the maftir of Parashat Shkalim, which is Kisisa, or the maftir of Parashat Chodesh, which is Bay. So do we do the maftir of Rosh Chodesh? Do we learn that first? Or do we learn the maftir of the week first? Or the maftir of Chanukah? Which one comes first?
You have Tadir Reino, Tadir Kodem.
Ah, very good. Tadir Sheini, Tadir Kodem. What comes first? What's most often always comes first. However, there's an interesting halacha in Mesechta Shabbos. In Mesechta Shabbos, it states that if somebody only has enough oil to light either Chanukah candles or Shabbos candles, they should light Chanukah candles. Why? Tadir v'sheni tadir, tadir kodim. Whatever comes first, usually comes first. Usually Shabbos more often. However, because of Pirsumi Nisa, because of publicizing the miracle of Chanukah, that's even more important than tadir v'sheni tadir. Unless it's so Pirsumi Nisa, publicizing the miracle is more important than tadir v'sheni tadir. So on Shabbos or Chodesh Tevis, when you read the haftarah, when the maftir is the maftir of Chanukah, the Nisim, on this day, this Nasi brought this carbon, and that's what you read on Shabbos Chanukah. So you might think to say that Pirsumi Nisa is more important, publicizing the miracle is more important than the Tadir, than Rosh Chodesh, which comes 12 or 13 times a year, right? Or we only lane it really 11 times a year because we don't lane Rosh Chodesh on Rosh Hashanah, as opposed to Chanukah, which comes only once a year. However, when do we say Pirsumi Nisa comes first? When does Pirsumi Nisa come first? Only if you have a choice, one or the other. Then you choose Pirsumi Nisa. But if you're in Shul and you're going to lane anyways, so you're going to publicize the miracle of Chanukah anyways. So at any point, so since you're doing it at any rate, so then you Tadir, V'sheni Tadir, then the maftir of Rosh Chodesh comes first. Chaim Pfeffer adds on another interesting point over here, that Rosh Chodesh is in the Torah, right? Literally from the Torah. It's a mitzvah. On Rosh Chodesh, we bring a carbon musaf, we read it on Rosh Chodesh. Chanukah is not in the Torah.
Yeah.
It's not in Tanakh. Right? It happened during the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. There's no Torah reading about, it's not like the Megillah, which at least was written as part of Tanakh, Megillah's Esther. Right? So it's not even that. It's during the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. There's no Chanukah reading. There's no Torah reading connected to it. It's just hinted to in the Chanukah Sanasim. So even though Pirsumi Nisa is very important, but it's not, you're not like reading the Megillah of Chanukah. You're reading the Torah reading, which has to do with one aspect of Chanukah. So therefore, it comes after, even though it's Pirsumi Nisa, which is more important than Tadir, Sheni Tadir, but still, you read the Parsha of Rosh Chodesh first. And we're going to have a very interesting terminology very soon in the Gemara, which is Ein Mashgichin B'Chanukah. You don't pay attention to Chanukah.
Oh.
We'll get up to that soon. What that means at all, or you don't pay attention to it to put it first. We'll see what that means soon. It's 11:40, and we'll proceed with some of the Maamar of Veyada. Let's bring this up over here. Get this larger. Yes. All right, new share. Hold on. Just make sure we got the right one on the screen. We have the right Hebrew on the screen. I just want to make sure we have the right English on the screen. I'm going to pause the share for a second. Make sure. So, Dovi, have you ever heard of the Eis Ratzon when you take out 3 Sifrei Torah for Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol?
Ah. In fact, I haven't been feeling the best today.
Bye.
But getting a sheep better today.
Okay, I'm just going to bring it up on the screen. Veyada in English. Veyada Moskva. Maamar Veyada. Let's go like this. One, two. Okay. If you have there the English Maamar, we're going to bring an example from our Gemara, which we learned. Mesechta Megillah. Here you go, page. There you go. Page 105. 105, yeah. Right. The idea of the Maamar. Right, till now we're discussing the idea that Eretz Merubim. Why did Hashem have to conceal himself? Why couldn't Hashem just make a world the way it is? What's the answer? Because it will be way too intense. Like if you have a secret deep down inside of you, it's too intense to share. People who've gone through the Holocaust, people, unfortunately, many of them never could discuss even what they said. Why? Because it was too intense for them to handle. They weren't built for it. And that's why Hashem took away the sight of many people not to see. He says, Hashem took away, says Mesechta Psachim, that if Hashem took away the ability for people to see otherworldly beings, demons and things like that, otherwise, because people wouldn't be able to handle it. As a matter of fact, I think in the art scroll, when the Gemara gives like a whole thing somebody could do, if somebody really wants to see otherworldly beings, and it says, don't try it. It suggests you not to try it. So Hashem makes the Iris, it's called the lights of Hashem, and he makes them very small. He minimizes them. And in order that the world could be able to handle, able to exist. Otherwise, the world would not be able to exist. Here we are. So now we're going to give an example. Or 2 examples we're going to have. One example is from our Gemara, Mesechta Megillah. If you remember the story of Rabbi and Rebbe Zera from the beginning in Daf Zayin, Rabbi invited Rebbe Zera over for a Purim feast, and they became so intoxicated, they didn't know the difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. And Rabbi stood up and he slew and he shechted Rebbe Zera. The next day he davened for him and he brought him back to life. Remember, we went through all the questions. Then what happens if someone is brought back to life? Does he have to remarry his wife? Right? If someone is on a life support, etc. Question is, how could someone kill someone else when they're drunk, especially someone as great as Rabbi? And then the next year, he invited his friend Rebbe Zera over again, and Rebbe Zera said, sorry, not this time, because a miracle might not happen this year. Why would Rabbi even attempt to invite his friend over a second time? And Rebbe Zera could have said, I'm sorry, I'm scared for my life. He's like, I don't mind coming over, just I'm not sure if I'll be able to be brought back to life the next day. Right. So the famous shliach of the Rebbe, which explains this, and we said the Ben Ish Chai is a similar type of beer. And the word Rabbah in Aramaic means large. The word Zera in Aramaic means small. When these two Chacham came together on Purim, they discussed such great secrets of the Torah that Rabbah was able to handle the depth and the secrets, and Reb Zera was not able to handle it. And just like by Nadlav and Avihu, their souls left their body from the great intensity, or by Rishon Bar Yochai, when he passed away by the Idra, he says there was such godly light, and so the fire was so strong that 3 of his students passed away with him as well. They weren't able to handle the great revelation. And the same thing with Zera. Zera means small. He wasn't able to handle the great revelation that Rabbah was able to handle. This is when the Maggid Mizrich came to the Baal Shem Tov. He only came to the Baal Shem Tov 4 times, Maggid Mizrich, altogether. And he became the successor of the Baal Shem Tov. And the first time the Maggid Mizrich came to the Baal Shem Tov, he had his own Matan Torah. The Baal Shem Tov called him in, told him to lay down on Baal Shem Tov's bed, told him to close his eyes, and then he said he had a Matan Torah of his own. What Baal Shem Tov revealed to him was similar to Har Sinai. He says the thunder and lightning, and he begged the Baal Shem Tov to stop because he couldn't handle it. So Rabbah invited Reb Zera back the next year, thinking, and he thought to himself that during these past 12 months, Reb Zera worked on himself, and Reb Zera was now on a greater character that he's able to endure much more than the year before of great godly revelations. Reb Zera said no, he declined because he wasn't yet ready to withstand all the intense spiritual illuminations of Rabbah, saying, even if I worked on myself, but Rabbah, you also worked on yourself during these 12 months, so I won't be able to handle it. So that's an idea of oiris and kelim, too much lights, and the vessels cannot handle it. By a person, you have the same exact thing. If it's called Chachma Bina Das, right? Chachma is a light that's too intense. And someone who has lots of Chachma but has no way of Bina to develop a thought, that's where it stays. It stays in the realm of good ideas and never gets into any practical way of doing it. A lost art today is called letter writing, right? Everyone here, I'm sure, wrote letters, but even my times, and for sure nowadays, no one writes letters nowadays by hand. But what used to be that the only way you could communicate with someone was through letters. There's no FaceTime, there's no WhatsApp. When you write something down, you could only guess from there what is lying beneath the words, what's written between the lines, as I say. So there's a example in halacha. If you have a Sanhedrin, the Jewish court gets together to judge a capital punishment case, the person, is he deserving of a death penalty or not? So they had to sit and make the deliberations, and they couldn't stop in the middle. They had to sit and continue throughout the night. And they weren't allowed to go to sleep, take an adjournment, until they finished the entire case. And once they made the verdict, it had to be done that day. Think about the modern courts, the modern court systems. Taking an adjournment for another 3 months, come back in 6 months, right? Who makes the money? The lawyers, right? So then you didn't have such a system, but they weren't allowed to stop till they came to a conclusion. They would separate into groups of 2 or 3 and talk and deliberate and discuss the entire time until afterwards it all come together and make a vote. All 23 or 71, depending how many there were in that Sanhedrin, would make a vote. And why couldn't they just take a break? Why make this the Dayanim, the judges, stay up an entire night and not go to sleep when they're making deliberations? As a matter of fact, it was called the Sifrei Dayanim. You had scribes who were writing down every single thing that the judges of the Sanhedrin, Dayanim, would say that it was written down. So why would they have to take a break? So it says, let's continue in the Maamar. The Raya and a proof to this concept that you can have what's called Kollel, that the Kollel, the vessels conceal, do not reveal the essence. Ein Megillah Metzah, or cannot bring the essential light. Is when a person speaks and they're conveying an idea that's in their mind. A person could think a lot, but they can't until they say it or until they express it in some other way. You don't know what they're thinking. However, the words that you say don't reveal the depth of your thought, the inner power of your thought, only the external dimension. As we find by the Sanhedrin, they would have to discuss and debate the case entire night whenever they are ruling on a case of capital punishment. Because they might forget what they were saying overnight, what they were thinking. Bottom of 106. Although there were two scribes who would write down all the opinions on behalf of the ones who are arguing to convict them or to acquit them. Peter Shirashi, the Tana of the Boy the Kosvi, and Shirashi Mesechta Sanhedrin says that you cannot write down the ideas of the convictions of your heart. That you can't write down. Right? So you can only write down your words that you say, but you can't write down the convictions of your heart. So the full intensity, if someone's debating and they're engrossed in an idea, in their mind, when you discuss it verbally and it's constantly there, you're able to still apply everything you had in mind to there. But if you wrote it down and went to sleep, you would have lost a tavna d'libai, the conviction of the heart. So as long as you're talking about it, the chachma is still shining. As soon as you stop the flow of oisius of letters, as soon as you stop, the essence will be hidden, and then they might forget the reasoning the next day and come the next day thinking something entirely different. Maybe that's why it takes so long for things to work their way through the court system. Because every time the judge comes, he has a different opinion. Once true and inner intent. Well, you cannot describe really the inside of it, only the external part of it. So the analogy is similar. Only the external part of the kalim are revealed, and they don't reveal the essence of Hashem. While the inner essential light of Hashem is concealed within them. And we're going to give another example. So far we gave examples from, you could say, contemporary examples, meaning things that are in this world. A judge who has to judge, or a teacher who's teaching Rabbi and Reb Zera. Now we're going to give another illustration, but this time within the power of the soul. The neshama, the soul itself, is very powerful. After someone passes away, right, the neshama is there and it doesn't have any of the limitations of that the body used to put on it. So in your neshama, in your soul, you have, let's say, the power of vision. After a person passes away, they don't have the ability to see or to hear anymore in a physical way. But rather, the neshama, the light of the neshama is there. But when it's in the body, you only have the physical manifestation of the neshama in the body. But the power of the neshama itself is much stronger than the part that comes into the body. For example, the power of vision in the nefesh, in the soul of the person, is very powerful, and you're able to see, not in a physical sense, but see in a spiritual sense. It says your neshama sees Hashem. What does it mean? You see Hashem? You see God? You don't see with your physical eyes. Your neshama sees in a spiritual way. And the only times we saw Hashem in a physical way so far has been by Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. And we're going to have it again when Mashiach comes. We will be able to see. But the way the world is that only our neshama, our soul, could see godliness, and our physical body cannot see godliness, but our physical body could see other things. But the power for it to see comes from your soul's ability to see God, to see spirituality. The Gemara does say that there are things which a human cannot see, but animals could see. Right? For example, says the spirits or neshama souls, right, which come down or shade in different spirits, as a Gemara talks about it at length. It says only a certain animals could see it. For example, it says when a person, it's time for them to pass away, the neshama, the soul, gives out a scream. And only, I think, the chickens are the only ones who are able to hear it. That's why they jump when they hear it. It's just an example, something which has less seichel, less intellect to understand, they're able to handle much more. They won't get scared by seeing it. Right?
What about Mazle Chazeh?
You're saying does Mazle Chazeh apply to animals?
No, just in a sense, where is the idea of the Mazle Chazeh come from? Is that the Koach Riyah from the Neshama?
Yeah. Well, we had this mentioned before, Mazle Chazeh, but there's Shemayim. Yeah, they said the neshama, right, by Daniel and his friends. His friends, Mazlayu Chazeh, they felt it. Also the Riyah of the neshama. But I guess it only sees what's important for it. But something that's not important for it, it wouldn't see. Right, for example, who was it? The Rebbe Itkin, I think it was. One of the Rabbanim of Yerushalayim was walking down the street, and I think the street he went to was usually closed, so they walked on a detour, a different street. And he says, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. Let's go on a different street. And they walked 1 block further. And they walked by the house where he walked by, and they found out that there was a house of ill repute, in the house. So there was no sign on the outside about it, but he had a feeling what it was. Right? I think that's more an idea of Mazlayu Chazi. Meaning we can have thousands of other people walk by, they don't see or feel a thing. Someone was in a more spiritual plane could feel such a thing, right? Or, for example, it was in the Warsaw ghetto, or it was other ghetto. I think it was the Warsaw ghetto where the Alexander Rebbe was killed, was taken from.
I think it was actually worse.
It might have been the Warsaw ghetto. It was during one of the Octaeons, and he was, although he was,
I think he was killed.
He was killed to the break up. I think it was in the Warsaw ghetto. There was one point when they took away how many Jews? Like 500,000 Jews in the Warsaw ghetto, and they left, and everyone else who was left was safer for the next few months. And they only anybody old and young in this were all taken away. And he was given like a job in a leather works, which was essential. And everyone, the Nazis didn't touch anyone in that workshop. And that's where he was given a job. One of the Chassidim who ran the workshop. And then one day he said, I don't feel like going into work today. I told him, but at home it's so dangerous. The Nazis go around house to house, round up everyone. The safest place is a leather shop. He kept on saying, I don't want to go. And he was finally convinced by his son-in-law that he finally went. And that day, the Nazis came to the leather workshop and they rounded up, they made a selection of the workers and they, and took Alexander Rebbe away. The director of the workshop ran to him and says, that's my best worker. You have to leave him be. And they're about to give him go. And then a commandant walked by. He says, he's a rabbiner. They took him away. And his misham, his gabbai saw what was happening, and he was safe, but he ran to go with Alexander Rebbe. He was killed with him. Right? So it's the idea of Mazlayu Chazi. They're able to understand and see, sense definitely what's happening. Fine. Being as it's 12:01, we'll take a pause over here. But Hashem should always only give us good things to see. And we've seen miracles this week. Those who help the Jews will be helped. So we should see miracles with every single Jew, especially our hostages.
Amen. Yashar koach, Rabbi.
Yossi, thank you for your sharing.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. And Dovi, you saw that? You see Yossi's background.
Yeah, oh yeah, nice.
So the first one to recognize Yerushalayim was saved by Hashem.
Yes,
created
indeed.
Yerushalayim.
It's amazing.
Hashem. It's right in Yossi's backyard. And Yossi was our representative.
And did you
Mr. Label, Mr. Minsky, Yossi, and we'll see you everyone.